Okay, so it's June 4th, 2018, 9 o'clock a.m. We'll call this meeting to order. Mike, would you open with a prayer, please?
Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this day in this country. We give you thanks for the opportunities to represent the public here at this meeting. And we ask for your guidance, that we be honest, truthful, and we do your work at this meeting. Also, Father, we ask that you be with our soldiers and our police officers who protect us and guide this country. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have changes, right?
We have changes, but I redid the agenda so that it reflects the changes.
Okay.
And I resent it out, but it's the 2 p.m. session.
Okay. So board organization.
At some point, we need to get on our agenda, not today necessarily, but we need to talk about our planning, intergovernmental planning document we have with the tribe.
Okay.
I feel that this landowner here has actually been abused in the process, and that the tribe has stepped outside of what our agreed upon process was. We may want to revisit whether there is an opt-out clause in that agreement, and we could enact that opt-out.
Do you want me to?
But I do think that we want to talk about it.
Do you want me to have like Mary with us?
Yeah, it would be
Yes,
Mary,
please.
and Mike Nee should be here, but if Mike can't make it, we can.
Okay,
Mary would be
agenda
enough.
next week.
Might give her a heads up that what we're going to
I
talk
will.
about, so she can look at that agreement. And I would
And
like
refresh yourself.
I'd like a copy of that agreement also.
Oh,
I mean, it's been the same old thing. We enter into an agreement, and the next thing you know, they're expecting our citizens to go beyond where what their rights are. So,
Well, the whole point of that was to simplify it in black and white,
Yeah.
the process, and now it's
now they
totally
throw a
defeated
curved
now.
ball in it like we've done
Yeah.
in the past. We had an agreement back in the 80s and 90s, I believe. And in about 98, they did the same kind of BS. And lo and behold, the commissioners decided then that we would opt out. And it's been almost 15 years before we got it back in place. So what I'll do, Amanda,
Yes,
you want to start a file on this and keep all that in for our documentation.
and this would be under like
Well, maybe just the agreement.
just
okay.
planning.
Tribal MOU,
Yeah.
or MOA, whatever it is.
I'm just going to do that, and then when we look up the agreement, we can give you guys the copies. Jennifer, here's that, and then we'll give it the proper title based on when we look up the copies. They're going to need copies of the original document to review for. I'm going to try to get them on for the agenda next week. I'm not sure what the right title is, that's why I just penciled in. Okay. You know how they are, MOU, MOA, agreement, whatever.
MOUSC.
Yes, MOUSC.
Okay, so I have, on the 12th, wait a second, yeah, on the 12th I've got EMS and BVFF at 4 o'clock.
BVFF.
And that's it right now.
That's it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next. I know we have the Old Tiger and the motorized trail and wreck on the 14th.
Oh, we'll work on that.
Yeah, we are.
Got TCMRA on the 13th, but I don't think we typically write that one
No,
down.
we don't. But on the 14th, are you going to be attending those?
It's gonna be iffy. I got a wedding on the 16th.
I know. I'm just going to write it down anyway because
Put it down, because that is my scheduled meeting.
that's your norm.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then, just so you guys know, I won't be here the 18th. I've got an appointment to get that steroid injection in my back again. And it's the only, with those guys, you just take it when they've got it. You don't get to schedule it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's maybe a problem. Maybe not. It's later in the day. So that's our adoption court date at 3. So if we can get whatever we can get done by maybe 2.
Okay, so what day? It's the 18th?
18.
Okay, so Nathan, when is your cutoff at that time? Like, when do you have to leave?
Well, it's over in the courthouse, so we're going to do it here. Our lawyer
Okay.
that's representing our side and how all that goes
Uh-huh.
is coming here. And so if we could get done by 2,
Okay.
then that would give me plenty of time.
I'm going to, I don't have anything scheduled after 2 right now, so I'm just going to make it a very short meeting, okay?
Okay.
And if it becomes absolutely critical, I could be here until noon.
Okay.
That gives me 3 hours to get to Spokane. So,
I think we just shorten the day up
Yeah.
and we'll just crunch if we have to.
Okay.
I got 2 things that day. I got that back injection, and the very next day my wife flies out for DC. So I imagine I'll spend the night in Spokane rather than drive home and get her back at 4 o'clock in the morning.
That's always fun. Okay, so Nathan, next week.
So
Yep.
next week,
Uh-huh.
most of my stuff this week. I don't see anything actually scheduled.
Mhm.
Schedule, let's see. The wireless project, trail stuff, recreation stuff. But none of it's like scheduled
Okay,
as far as meetings. It'll be filled, but. Trying to think, because I think we're having our wireless thing this week too.
and you guys, I've told you 6 times, I'm going to tell you again. This month is the month we go to the training, so next week I will be gone. And the week after that, Alyssa, or Jennifer will be gone.
Yep.
So, and then on Thursday, I'll be at the BOE senior training. So there's going to be a lot of skinny staff this month. And I just want you guys to be aware of it, be mindful. We're going to be a skinny staff because we're on a diet.
Can I be, me too? I'd like to join that.
So that's what's going on.
You've got a plan for that, let me know.
Yeah, it just really snuck up on us, and I know that it was sneak up on you guys, so I just want you to be mindful of
I
that.
walked in, looked at the calendar, and went, oh,
Yeah, I said,
Jennifer,
Jennifer.
you're gone next
You walk up
week.
and look at that calendar. Geez, it looks like vacation time for everybody.
Right?
Yeah, but then next month is when I actually vacation.
Yeah, don't we wish we were vacationing? That's just, it's exhausting.
But you do learn.
A lot of work. We do learn a lot, it's great.
And next Tuesday's when I go on vacation. The 3rd.
My brother's coming sometime next month too. Figure out when. Okay, so he takes some time off and we can
Yeah,
make sure not
right.
or something if he's gonna be here.
The 24th through the 28th, or like the 12th and the 13th, or something like that.
Don't probably only take a day or something.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure. I'm available.
yes, because you know then this one is supposed to be going to Oregon, so I'm going to put August up there, just so that, it's just hard to.
So Ron wants to track her.
Okay, so we're done with board organization.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You know, you've probably seen an email here. agree.
Do you want to make alternative plans for Monday and some things we have things planned for you? Tell me what they are now.
Just send it to you.
There's a reason she can't do it on Monday.
You know? I'm not doing any skits. I'm just not doing it. So they give us the agenda, Jonathan, and the agenda doesn't say. It's the banquet.
You picked up on Aaron's,
The email. I didn't notice it. I just forwarded it.
I thought it was pretty cool. I've heard it before.
That's nice. I didn't notice it at all, but thank you for sharing. Did you see that? So I told them that we don't do meetings on Thursdays, and we don't have one scheduled for Tuesdays, so I don't know what he's talking about there. So she's gonna talk to him and see kind of what his deal, like what his idea was there. I don't know, but
Yeah,
we don't do meetings those days, so for,
She
I don't
can
know.
come on Monday or not.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm taking care of that, but I did print them all out so you guys could.
Yeah.
And then there's the one about, I mean, did you read what the topic was? Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it looks like we need discussion on it, but already we're here.
I think this is preemptive budgeting.
Our wildlife file.
Mhm. We put that on the file.
See, the change in the hours, they didn't tell us what they're changing them to. Huh? Is that in the email?
It is.
Okay.
I think it's,
On the border.
yeah,
Yeah.
cuts it back like 4 hours. Instead of
They
midnight,
close at like
it's
8,
Yeah.
which to me seems kind of early, but
Well,
I
it
don't
does,
do a lot
even
of
when we
That,
dinner.
is that gonna be every night?
yeah.
Then how do you watch it on
And
your?
5, I think, on the weekend.
How do
You
you
just
watch it?
Don't go through
You
there.
don't, you don't,
Pick a
That's-
different one.
That's Danville?
well, you can't,
No.
unless you go all the way
Orville.
back through,
Oh, the Orville? Oh,
no, that was Danville.
You
He
sure?
told me it was for
Yeah.
Danville
No, it was
on
Danville.
on my phone message.
I thought I
Yeah.
saw
So
that.
they were changing the hours of the
Because
Danville
isn't
crossing.
Orville 24 hours? It used to be. Danville had a limit, but Orville, I think, has always been 24.
Because you can't go up for dinner and watch a movie.
No.
You sure don't want to come back through Orville if you do.
Or Laurier and have to come all the way back over the pass.
Well, Laurier could close too,
No, it goes.
because I think they close at 5.
No, I don't think so.
No? Does he
Unless
still
they've
do?
changed it.
Oh, I thought they were like Midway, that they closed early. Laurier stays longer? I don't
I
know.
was thinking midnight. I don't know why.
Huh. I don't know.
I used to think
But I-
Orville
that I
was
could be
11.
Yeah.
Totally wrong about.
I'm just used to going by.
Okay, that's where I got, is an Orville Border Patrol Station wanting to inform elected officials about the Danville crossing.
Right.
I know there is Orville in there.
Bless you.
Thank you.
And then in the winter months, 8 to 5.
Yeah.
I guess they want nobody to cross the border anymore.
Yes.
'Cause nobody will dare risk that, otherwise it gets stuck on the other side.
Um,
Or maybe it's their form of tourism. You have to travel to one of the other ones that are 24 hours.
I don't want a tour to go Canada.
Tour 2 in the morning.
Yeah. No.
Did anybody answer Butch's question about ownership of Kettle River Grange?
Mm-mm. I don't know, that's,
I didn't answer it.
Yeah, he didn't really know. I think he's gonna find that it's owned by the Kettle River
I
Grange.
think it is. Because the Eagle Cliff owns
Part of
it.
that Grange, it's
Or proof it
Grange,
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
has nothing to do with county, except for the fire hall next door. But then that would be fire districts 3 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
And that still wouldn't be under our liability, I don't think.
So that's a training that was dropped off by, what's her name, Jennifer? The one that dropped the training off?
Kate?
It was
Health and
Oh,
Social
no, no,
Service,
that was Misty.
DSHS.
That was
Misty.
Kennedy.
Misty.
Mhm, sorry, I had to remember.
So
what the name
it's a
was.
training that they just wanted us to be having the option to attend.
We should be doing this over in Seattle. So let me ask you something, Nathan. Upon this request, do we need to hire an attorney for it?
We already have.
Have we?
Yeah.
Same one?
Yeah.
That's our portion. So if they're gonna be unreasonable and go that route, then that's on them.
Okay.
And they can deal with our attorney and hash it out.
Yep.
Because I've had 8 meetings there, you know, and they don't wanna look at the facts, they don't wanna look at the numbers, you know, and
I think when
and you had Ponderay that just settled 2 at 1%, which is our offer plus changes in the contract. And if that's not satisfiable to them, because I can't afford to break the county, and I don't think any of us want that in the long term. And you know, if they can magically come up with different numbers than what we've been working with, so be it. So far, they haven't been, and it's taken, 5 meetings to get them to acknowledge the reality of where we're at, which they claim to understand now, but,
still want the money.
They still want their money.
5%, yeah.
you know, and I just can't go there, personally.
We're halfway through the year, even if they got a 1%, it shouldn't be retroactive.
Well, that was the deal. It was retroactive on the 1, and they voted it down. So we're kind of in no man's land.
So kick off from wherever it's at. So we can't go back and change our budget numbers.
So Lincoln County, because I've been talking with some of the commissioners there,
And it's on
last year was their year that we're in now. You kind of have a buffer year for a full year. And so they were in total no man's land this year because it's uncharted. Because normally you have a whole year to figure things out and come up with something. You know, even if you don't have a contract, you kind of just go off the old one. But
It's a good hope.
yeah, they're not sure where they're going with theirs. So it's a mess. But they're locked in. They're locked in at a cost of living percent. And it's break them. They can't. And they don't know what to
We got that in the
do.
contract.
Yeah, that's why we don't need to get there. Because if we get into something like that,
It's the one I was in last year.
because things change, mines come and go, income rises, falls, and to be locked in
This one
no
is the
matter
best
what
one so far.
would really,
It was kind of cold. because
make it difficult,
I'm
so-
sure this- we have
and they're in the middle of
because next to the wall,
all the negotiations. And theirs have been going on a full year longer than ours with no contract.
So that's the one.
Because they're in the same boat we are, struggling.
So it's a
trying
nice.
to make
I
ends
just
meet.
walked down here and went down this. It's like just cement pathways to them like that.
Yeah,
And it's a big room.
I didn't find it very reasonable on their side.
It's a really nice room. I
Go
think
for
it's the best one. yeah.
Whatever. I think we just have an attorney do the negotiations as they do for other counties.
Just let them know right up front.
Just-
We
It's not
can't-
like the other
We
ones.
can't afford it.
There's no whistles involved. Yeah, there's none of those.
Especially if we're looking at more than 1 or 2 years down the road.
Just got an email from John Colton about wolves and funds coming down from the feds. And I often wonder, they talk about these non-lethal,
Deterrences.
yeah, precautions or actions. And they talk about range riders. How long does a range rider ride out there amongst the wolves and they become accustomed to it? And the next thing, the only thing that's left is they're gonna have to start somehow making the wolf afraid.
So, my neighbor that rides horses, the Millers, there's a photo of the area that she was in, but she was across on the backside of Gibraltar, and she was 20 feet away from a large cougar. And the horse hadn't seen it, otherwise it would have flipped out, probably bucked it right off. But so we got another one. They just killed one down at Demi Schweizer's, coming in, going after the pets.
Right in there pretty close to Chihuahua. They found a big tom in there too. I think they dispatched that one.
I know our dogs go crazy all the time. I would imagine, besides the bears and all the other critters out there.
Just the fully articles property.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Some good news after all.
I thought you would like it.
Yes, I do. I think somebody's out to lunch.
Yes, it's that spectrum. It's just a label. Full of sparkles and sunshine. Getting a negative vibe from you. I can't wait to take me off. Yeah, obvious stuff. I wore short dress for the first time. Yes. Good look for it.
By the way, I see there's a call out that's soliciting citizens to get in contact with the state auditor's office and asking for an audit of Ferry County's road diversion funds. For those of you who aren't aware of it, like we're not audited enough already.
Maybe they'll find something that I haven't discovered yet. Of course, there's 10 other counties that do the same thing for survival. And it is what it is.
And I don't know, I guess, we tried a coalition, tried to get that going before, and it just didn't go anywhere because the numbers were too large.
Right.
If they were to establish a fee for 10 counties, it just is a total shock to the state And then they sit back and they said, well, should we do it by population? Instantly, we're the loser.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure what the answer is. But it'd be interesting to see what people have to say about it.
It would help if they picked up the ball on a few of the other things there that,
Yeah.
you know, that they've been.
Well, I guess there's quite a bit of talk about indigent defense. But once again, while it helps,
It's a lot of it added up that's going to need to happen.
even if they took it all in for us, would it amount to 200,000 a year? No. 150.
Every bit, you know, you get what you can, but
Yeah, you know,
it's not going to solve the problem, though, ultimately.
the long-term problem is going to be here to stay. Right there it is laying in front of you. National Forest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to break that out one more, but I'm hoping I can get some of that data from our local ranger, a little bit more, but still, I mean, we're almost half.
Now, half the Colville, I've always said half the Colville is here.
Mm-hmm.
But so if you do that, we have half. The other two counties have 25% each.
Well, and when you look at that chart, theoretically, we should have half in blue, right? And that's blue, not red. Because we don't get anything for red, and that's... So if we can finish this chart and elaborate, I think that's going to say a lot over the long term condition of the forest that really hurt us. So I think Josh is working on it, so hopefully in the next few months we can get that data. At least the rest of it he's been working on.
No. I'll go back and look at that one though.
Breaking.
Each one of these businesses, like this one, it will have an impact here.
Well, because that was at the PUD when we got the three-phase put in there. And we went after a curb grant to do that. So get them off their generators and make them run a lot more efficient. But, you know, that's a chunk, you know, from the PUD, you know. And then you take away Buckhorn, you're looking at over 40, with that, maybe 45% of the total load all of a sudden just gone. You know, what do you do? I mean,
Yeah. You up the rates.
Oh, I know.
That's all you can. It's either that or you let your infrastructure go to hell.
Yeah.
People don't understand. All this freebie stuff, somebody's got to pay for it. It's this one. I think it's Strophe.
Past days. Things are hard to go through.
So, this article implies that that was at Danville,
Right.
that wolf kill, and it was not. It's at Orient. I'm a little bit sensitive to that because 90% of the time you get an article in this paper, if it took place on the east side of the county, it's misrepresented. Like the statement that the spokesman review will not be coming to Ferry County. I'm still getting mine.
Right.
It's like the east side of the county doesn't exist.
And didn't I like click on that and then print it for you? Yeah.
But I wanted to start a letter. We talked about just making a comment.
Mike, was that email that you got from that, John Colton regarding the wolves?
Yeah,
Well, I just resent it to you.
did you?
Well, it didn't show that you received it based on the email I got from him, so I just want to make sure that you.
That's fine.
Okay.
I just enjoy seeing knowing you're in the office. I can always tell because my email book fills up fast. And I do know where the delete button is. That was whether she was
What was the name
extreme.
of the fairground manager? Vera and, what was the husband?
Johnston, Marcus.
Marcus, thank you. I got it. Okay.
Is this Big Goosey's also?
It's in the ones that Will sent me. So we just,
I think this one's Deadwood Creek.
You can just have it.
At least that's what the road looked like up there where the tree would fall in and bush behind it.
well, he sent me like different emails and each one had pictures with each one. So
That's okay.
without having actually looked at it, I wasn't sure.
But it just shows you that we have more than one.
On a few of them, I think did look similar, but.
So, let's see.
See if that was
What was that? This one here?
long enough too.
Yeah.
The different
You
view
can
of
tell by
it.
the quality of the knife,
Yeah,
but that's all right.
lead wrapped in or something.
I know I contacted people about getting
Yeah,
on
this is the other one, Deadwood.
It's not this one.
And who knows, I just put them together as with the emails. Take it.
Fancy we meet again, huh?
You're still in that thing, huh?
I hope tomorrow's the last day.
Morning.
I was thinking you'd be out there.
I was hoping. Yeah, when I had it, they said, well, 6 to 8 weeks. And I was hoping it was the 6, but they told me it would be the 8 weeks, so. Anyway, it goes.
How's it going?
Good, how are you guys?
Not too bad.
I know who I'm.
Day at a time.
And there's something.
Always, right?
Huh?
Pretty nice days, though.
Not too bad. Get a little warmer. Need to rotate the garden a couple more times.
Yeah. Went to the barrel derby days. That was the first time I'd been up there.
Yeah. Not
Through the-
as many people probably as last year.
Is that right? Went through the hotel. That was cool.
Yeah.
See?
No, I went through that last year.
I couldn't believe, like, wherever you go in that building, there's like no creaks in the floor, even the steps.
Mhm.
Like, must have really built it well.
Yeah, it's not the old nails that sweep up and down.
We went into the kitchen area the year I went, it's been a number of years ago. You could still smell the bacon.
Oh,
Just smoking.
Mhm.
huh.
At least to me, that's what struck me.
Yeah.
Smell like my grandma's kitchen.
Uh-huh.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
So
How
are
are
you
you?
going to do the beard again, or you just?
I don't know.
You can get away with it now.
Dina keeps telling me I should, so we'll see.
Well, it's good either way, but I'm just used to.
Yeah, I know it.
It's a lot easier not having to get up in the morning.
Isn't that true? Yeah.
So good morning. You're going to give us an update?
Yeah.
Cool.
Got a few things to cover, and then, like always, happy to go wherever you all want to go. Get my business cards. I thought I'd give you each one.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
my current phone number, I think.
Did you change your cell or?
No, cell phone's still the same.
Okay.
The desk phone is different. And if you want to call me on my cell phone, feel free to do so anytime. Not just whenever you think I might be at my desk.
Yeah. Like us, we're here and there, all over.
Yeah. Talked to you last month about work starting up on the Scatter Creek Road repaving, part of the reconstruction work. So that work is going on. The contract began. Actually, it's been going on for a couple of weeks. It started just before, I think the week before Memorial Day. And so they've got the washout parts mostly corrected. They're working on one of them. And, hope to be doing asphalt here soon. They hope to have that project all wrapped up by the end of June, which would be really nice.
Yeah.
And that's from Swan Lake all the way out to Highway 21. So things are progressing along there. The nice thing is that the road's open, so people can pass by even though they're doing work up there. So having people take campers all the way through Old Swan Lake is not such a great idea.
Yeah.
It could be done, obviously, but this is much better. Also, we had another contract awarded. We're going to be redoing the whole water system up at the Swan Lake Campground as well, but that's going to come hopefully after Labor Day, which is a pretty big bonus for us. It's been a need we've had for a long time, and it's just how money comes for that program through the regional office. Projects are ranked out in priority, and this was very high priority this year, so we're getting, I can't remember the exact dollar amount, but it seems like it's several $100,000, like maybe $300,000 to redo the water system up there. So be another contract for that one, and hopefully it'll make the campground a lot better for a long time to come. And then I guess in addition to that, we got some other facilities money, and we're going to have pretty much a whole compound to our plate probably most of the summer. They're redoing the wastewater and water systems throughout the compound, and I think once that's done, we're signing over the wastewater piece to the city, but that was a term that had to be in place, upgraded before we could do that. So
Try to separate that so it doesn't go into the sewer system.
well, the wastewater would go into the sewer system, but then there's all kinds of drains. Our whole
the
compound
overflow,
is just
yeah,
a,
that whole drainage, they've had issues for a long time.
there are water lines and different things all over that whole area that we only know a portion of where they go and what they do.
You'll find them soon enough.
You're right, they'll find them when they go tearing that stuff up. So.
Yeah.
That's another bit of work we have going on. We're continuing to talk to folks about this, trying to bring this up in most places we go, about kind of changing the way that we go through the NEPA process and what NEPA looks like for the Forest Service. What the Forest Service is titled as is environmental analysis and decision making, and really what that discussion, how that goes, is about finding efficiencies. Only doing NEPA where we're supposed to do NEPA and being efficient when we go through NEPA. And so the goal there is to not have hundreds of pages in an EA, and then maybe 50 to who knows how many pages in a decision. We're trying to be a lot more streamlined, a lot more efficient. And so what that means, hopefully, is doing the right kind of analysis to know what the effects are of what we're doing out there, and then documenting those in a concise way that we really stick to what we're required to do through NEPA, not what we have been doing necessarily. So
It will take less time.
it should take a lot less time, because it changes the whole way we look at things. Because right now, we might go out in a project area and we collect a lot of information, tons of data, and not always is all that data needed to make the decision, but we collect it anyway. So I think we should become more efficient in not just the paperwork piece, but the field going piece. So we're out, we know what we need to collect to make the decision that we need to make, and so it'll be more efficient, I think, all the way through. But hopefully, we can use the EA that Josh has for the Orient project over on the other side of the county is hopefully a guide, and I think that was around 30 pages. So quite a drastic improvement from 200 to 300 to 30. And there's some folks that have concern with that, because what they're used to is this big, lengthy, bulky document.
Tied to years and years.
It takes years and probably $500,000 to produce. And so now if we can get through the requirements of NEPA and make a decision, that's far better. And so, why NEPA exists is to inform the decision maker, which most of the time is the district ranger, inform the decision maker of what the effects are of the project, and to inform the public. And we would only, and this is what NEPA says, is we're only required to analyze the effects that have the potential to be significant. And so not every effect has the potential to be significant. So I think it's going to help us narrow things down. And there's a lot of things that come up that I don't know what the example would be, but we hear a lot of comments about I care about this thing, and then we would feel the need to go ahead and analyze that to figure out most of the time in the end to say, well, it's really not going to be affected by the project, but it takes time, and it adds length to a document. And so we suspect it's going to be not well embraced by everybody, but I think there's commitment from the forest, certainly from this forest, and I think from the Forest Service in general, to see us get better at doing NEPA. The Forest Service has always done kind of above and beyond, I think, compared to even other agencies. I know when I came here, I worked for the BLM in Nevada and in Oregon both, and when I came back here to Northeast Washington, it was surprising how much NEPA we do and how big the documents are, and so there's ways to do it and comply with the law, which is what we're required to do, and hopefully be a little more efficient and shift the focus from this idea that the work is NEPA to the work is actually out there on the ground, and that's what we need to do. So
what we've been fighting for.
Well, it'd be nicer to have less to wade through for your comments.
Well, yeah, and one cool thing, when Josh and I can't remember James Pass went up to talk with the Orient Water Board and show them the EA that was produced for that project, the Orient Watershed project. They said it was pretty cool that the document at 30 pages people would pick it up and thumb through it and see what it is that's important. It's not that intimidating. You can pick it up and you can make sense of it.
That's it.
Right.
But when you pick up an inch and a half of paper
Right,
and you don't even know where to start, and so most people
right,
don't.
No.
So it allows us, I think, to have a lot better conversation with the people that are affected, with the communities,
Right.
and they can understand what we're looking at, what we're proposing to do,
Mhm.
and how we expect that it's going to change things out there. So I think it has great potential to better serve the public and better protect the resources out there.
Good.
So that's what we're going to keep pushing for.
Mm.
Yeah. Looks like grazing season. Probably most people turned out their cattle this weekend, or going to be shortly. So it's always these days with wolf recovery, we see.
Sorry, I'm pulling
see
you
how
back
it
in
goes.
already.
Of course, there's already been some conflict and some depredations that have occurred. And,
Yep.
it was encouraging. I don't know if you saw an email from WDFW, I think it was yesterday, that said they had collared 2 additional wolves in the northern cattle range. They collared 1 wolf in what they're considering the Togo territory, and they collared another wolf in, I forget how they termed it, either the former profanity
You're right, yeah.
range or something like that. They didn't say it was a profanity wolf, but it's in the same area.
Now known as.
So I think that's good. I'm kind of torn on the whole thing. Sometimes I think the colors are nice and they're critical for going out and doing some of the non-lethal stuff and knowing where wolves are at so producers can be aware of it and check on their stock when there's wolves in the area. But then, I guess I've seen it not work out so well, and I think sometimes it would be better if there was no collars, and then you wouldn't have this mindset where, oh, that's a profanity wolf, or that's a Sherman wolf, or that's a whatever wolf. It's a wolf, and it's in the area that where wolves live, and there's a problem.
When they had the collars on them, and they started, they had they ended up with, we had, what was it, the line retreat? What was that pack up there?
Well,
That's profanity.
depends on which year.
Okay, that was profanity.
Because in 20,
And then the fires came in, and the
moved
profanity
up to
pack moved to
Boulder.
Sherman.
Right.
And then they migrated back with a new name and moved on, and now the Togo pack is over there, which they're all on the same original set of wolves.
very true.
And they all know how to kill cows.
Seems to
They've
be the
been brought
case.
up that way. So, and I agree, it's a mixed bag of worms. The thing that troubled me, and I'm in favor of collars, is that recently in Colville, or outside of Colville, there was a youngster, a 7th, 8th grader, had to walk about a half mile to a mile with a school bus. And on his way down, he took picked wolf tracks in the middle of the road. And he sent him to his dad, and his dad was quite concerned about that, because this is a normal. So they went back and they checked, and the ping on the collar was 20 minutes before that kid walked down that road.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be nice to know if the wolves are in your area so you could drive your kid to the school bus?
It would, but the other side of it is there's only a few collars out there, and there's wolves everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And-
You can't count on that being your security
Well,
blanket.
I know for years, I lived in the valley just kind of at the bottom of Heron Creek, and for a long time, I've heard wolves. I've heard them right down at the lake. We've seen them right down by the lake. But there's never any indication that WDFW thinks that that's a pack,
Yeah.
even though they seem to be. And Walt Bauman, who works at the Forest Service, he lives up at the upper end of Heron Creek, and he says, oh yeah, they're there all the time. But I don't know. There's a lot more wolves around than.
They've got a standard that they set before it becomes a pack, and then before it can be a breeding pair, and everything's stacked against the landowner and the individual, the human element
Yeah.
in our confines. This last deal was Ron Eslick, and I'm just floored. At 10 feet off of his property on state land. And he'd been out and just checked on that calf. It was just days old. And the wolf killed it. Obviously, they said it's a wolf, but you didn't do enough. non-lethal, so we're not gonna count it.
That really surprised me,
Yeah, did me too.
because when you look at the non-lethal deterrent measures, I think it would be really hard to say that a producer who had a calf that close to home wasn't doing many
Yeah.
of those, certainly more than one.
Mhm.
So, not
With
our
that said,
call,
we
and
can't-
it's frustrating.
It is.
And it's frustrating for the Forest Service because we have a grazing program, and grazing on our allotments is a legitimate use of the Forest Service lands in those areas, and you know, we have producers that and permittees that, you know, are questioning whether they're willing to graze our allotments any longer, and so that's where we have an interest, you know, in continuing grazing out there, and somewhere there's got to be some middle ground where, you know, the wolves will be there, but they're at a level that it doesn't, you know, threaten to essentially, you know, bankrupt the
Well, I've
producer.
always made the statement after we started having trouble that we don't have a wolf recovery program. We have a wolf protection program. And there was no
Certainly at this
consideration given to the ungulate population, how much feed is there, and how much will that area sustain a wolf population.
Mhm.
And therein lies our problem. As soon as they take a pack of 7 or 8 and kill half of them or a little more, then usually the predation slows down a little bit
Mhm.
because they don't have to have that volume of meat to sustain them. But
I think that's a critical piece, Mike. I mean, it's a balance between the prey that's available and how much meat a wolf pack needs. And, when it's out of balance, there will be problems.
They will spread, and you know.
when McCurvin loses 10 animals, it's not as nearly the impact as when Ron Eslick lost 1.
Mhm.
And we don't even consider that part of it either. You know, he runs 20 cows, McCurvin's runs a couple thousand.
But even then, it comes at a cost. I know Bill has said that they have to run more numbers now because they know they're going to experience losses of maybe 100 calves a year, which, you know, is more than some of them have.
Mhm.
But, you know, so it comes at a cost to them.
Yeah, because the more cows you got, the more work you got into them.
Yep.
They truck to the south for winter feed, and they got to move that many more animals. So there's other impacts created beyond just what the wolf has done here locally.
Mhm.
Those trucks going up and down the road dump fuel in the air and atmosphere, as well as wear and tear on roads and et cetera. So
Mhm.
you can't calculate all as just the wolf kill itself or the presence. And then it's in the I won't get the name of the newspaper now because I wanted it. Anyway, the news articles in there, they were cattlemen explaining other losses that you don't even see
No.
through the stress factors of those wolves. And you know that those wolves will chase the cattle out of the range and right down into a fence or whatever else. And the cattlemen will push it back up because you do have requirements that they graze their allotments.
Mhm.
And they can't keep the animals there because the wolf chases them out. If they run them hard enough, they'll die. Animal will just die from the stress load that they're running and no rest or no catch-up time. So not to say they wouldn't slough, they don't breed, whatever.
Ron, it looks like the other night at the Kettle River Grange meeting that McGurvin had taken 70 cows back into the sale that wouldn't breed back, which is 3 times what Ron's got. But you know, his
Yeah.
new one and his cows stayed on a big rock outcrop for 3 days after that attack.
Yeah.
So
You know, you got Scotty Sanders said the wolves ran his down through the rocks and cut up their legs and their hooves, and that damage also, it all weighs in, even though the wolf didn't kill one at that time,
Yeah.
but it's still. So,
Yeah.
but I'm preaching to the choir here, so. maybe we
I
can
think
get
it's,
receptive.
you know, I think it's something to certainly pay attention to, and, you know, hopefully at some point it just seems a little more balanced, I think. But I guess it was success that they got a couple more callers out there. Anyway,
Time will tell.
time will, it always does, right? Like, I think we have most all our campgrounds open at this point. 10 Mile Campground still has some work that needs to be done out there. Probably will be open in a couple of weeks. We've got some issues with some hazard trees out there. We can't open a site until we've done something to address any hazard trees that are there, and it's of course, like anything, Forest Service, there's a lengthy process for identifying
Every
hazard
tree.
trees, and then once you identify them, you have to do something about it. Well, the issue with the 10 Mile area is the hazard trees in the campground are right on the property boundary, and some of the hazard trees that would affect the campground belong to the neighbor. So we're working with the neighboring landowner to figure out what might be done there. They're large trees, it sounds like, with the tops dead. But by our policies, we can't put people in a developed recreation site where there's some potential that those could fall down. So, anyways, and then the other campground we're still working on. Hopefully, we'll have back open by probably hunting season time. Would be the Deer Creek Summit one up there that burned up in the stick pin fire. So, we got a water trough we're going to be putting in up there, and I think still the fencing and stuff. So, anyways, it'd be nice to have that back online.
Yeah, for those who commute over there and need to use the rest facilities. I don't have that problem, but now that you've got all yours open,
Yeah.
I'm Sherman. That's a plus that some people don't even think about.
Mm-hmm.
At our coffee shop, there was a guy come in and he wanted to know if there was rest facilities where on Sherman, where they were. So he wasn't on a bicycle, so I couldn't imagine what his problem was. But
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah.
And there's plenty on there now, because isn't there rest facilities at the Flume site?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Log Flume and Groudon, and then at the overlook, the fire overlook.
And then on down over the fire overlook, as well as up on top,
Oh yeah.
very top.
Yep. It'd be nicer if we got funded in the right place to do those types of things. And one of those things that we always, and it's crazy to even say this, but it's the reality that we have to struggle with how do we pay for it, is pumping those vault toilets. Because we don't get adequate funding in recreation that pays for those things. So we make do. And I think we always will, but it'd be nice if it wasn't one of the things you had to try to
It wasn't
figure
a
out, right?
one-time plan.
It would just seem like, and so that's why it's a really big deal anytime we want to, have some proposal comes forward that people might want to add to the infrastructure, because we really can't even adequately maintain what we got currently. And so,
Are there any partnerships out there that might be able to, through the economic dollars, might be something to look at?
there's the construction piece, which is important, but for us, it's that long-term maintenance piece that just is a tough one. Because, there's grant money available, and there's people that will donate things to construct something, but that's kind of where most of that funding stops, and then we're left to figure out what to do with it for the next 50 years.
If you get an opportunity, do you have any idea what it costs to pump one out?
I don't, but I could figure it out.
Why don't you see if you can find out, and maybe we can work on some kind of coalitions that would, even if it did kind of like the litter pickup along the road, somebody adopts a vaulted toilet and they cough up the funding,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they volunteer to go out. It's quite a cost just keeping them cleaned up around them and make sure they're stocked.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
it's an irritation with their society today. They have to mark up everything. And fortunately, I picked up an aluminum can out of one of them that was thrown on the floor, because the other option would have been to throw it in a hole, and that's not a good option,
Yeah.
because that really messes up the pumping system.
Somebody's got to fish that heck out of there. Yeah. Yeah, I can find that out. And I also sent off a request for the question you asked me when I was here last, Nathan, about how many Forest Service acres are in each
Okay.
county. So I haven't heard a response back yet, but when I do, I can just forward that on to.
Yeah, and I'll just update our charts and stuff as we get the data.
All right. Well, it was kind of cool to see the governor in the paper and all that stuff. So have you heard anything additional about anything you might be able to do beyond what he said when you were with him?
I don't think he made any promises whatsoever.
Nathan's been working pretty hard, though. He built us a book that we can start handing out to some of these people that might care or convince them to care.
Is that what you showed me a lot of at the Tri-County?
Yeah, and it's just pointing out factual stuff, and, a couple of the conversations with the governor, was, I know one of his solutions is, which may work in certain counties, but not necessarily ours, raise the property tax, the ability to go, and it's like, that's great in King County when you have 10,000 people per block. But when you look at 7,600 people and then you divide out who owns land, who actually pays taxes, etc., and you have 5% that's actually real taxed out of the entire county, I mean, you could raise it multiple percent and you're not going to see this huge revenue stream, and yet it's going to hurt everybody.
When you start with a land value of 500 million, that's not very much. You start tagging on it in order to sustain us. When the numbers we were at 400 million many years ago when I was conversing with Chelan County, and they got the same percentages of land base, 85% federally owned, 15% the same as us. And they said, well, we're the same as you guys. But their value of their land was 5.5 billion. And ours was 400 million. A little difference there in what you take in.
Yeah.
That's a whole different game.
Yeah. Well, it's just numbers. So hopefully he'll, or his staff or somebody can go through some of that and just see, some of it's unfunded mandates or underfunded mandates, trying to illustrate, this $150,000 that we're not getting, that we should be getting. Well, on a $5 million budget, that's huge. I mean, you start looking at percentages. These things matter to us as much as they do to the big counties, and so.
And as that property tax goes up, people look at, well, maybe I don't need as much property. And there goes your big farms. They get busted up because they can't pay the tax on it.
So anyway, so even on the Forest Service chart, I think that's really telling. As we get that finished out, in the next few months, hopefully we'll have something that really can identify some of the issues with the stewardship, how it affects us, and just kind of the history of production over the years. And then we can start having a conversation. It's not like, this is what I think, and this is what I heard. Here's the data. Take a look at it. This is reality,
Yeah.
You're talking about NEPA and all the process and efficiencies. Well, when you look at the chart of, 130 million board feet, and then there's years of 20-some, and then you turn that into stewardship, which we get no revenue from, it's like, that says so much without just my opinion. It's just, here's the data.
Yeah.
Look at the condition of the forest, the bugs, old growth, different things, on the cycle of the forest, and we're way behind. It's like, here's the evidence that proves it. So, and we got to do it in such a way that they can quickly understand it and not going to get bogged down in that 1.5-inch thick document, because nobody likes to dive into those. Even if it's got good data in there, if you can find it. So that's kind of been the decision of the board to reanalyze how we project, the data and stuff. So we got other ideas we're putting together and getting the packages and getting to our legislators, federal agencies, state agencies. And so it just happened the governor was there, so it's like, well, I'm going to get this thrown together and we'll get it to them. But I think the data is going to be good long term. The problem I have with some of the data in the past is, whether it's for a grant or for this situation, all this work puts into it, and then it's all lost.
Mhm.
Or change of personnel or electeds, or so I'm hoping to create a database that will be permanent that people can access,
Yeah.
and then we just update it year by year. And so
Yeah.
all the data doesn't have to be recreated. So
Yeah.
hopefully the efforts from the data from the Forest Service will be a one-shot deal. And then as the years go by, then we just get some updated for 2018 or 2019. And, it's a 10-minute process rather than, creating it from scratch where we're at. So,
Yeah.
so, I don't know. I mean, it's in a political realm at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, we can try everything we can for our economy, this and that, and it takes time. But our budget's now,
Yeah.
so we'll
Right.
see.
Yeah.
Hopefully the governor will take a look at, some of our roads, some of the issues, some of the different things. I don't know. We'll just see.
When you look at a budget that was impacted by the minimum wage law, you have to start thinking, oh my God, all our employees some of our employees are below minimum wage coming the first of the year. So that means we have to up their salaries. Well, how do you up the low end without pushing some for the ones above them and keep a balance?
Yeah.
So I'd never looked at it that way until they passed that stupid law.
Here we are, though, right?
Here we
Yeah.
are.
I know that. I don't.
$1,200 increase 2 years ago to meet the need. And now we're looking at just about that much more again next year. Knowing the budget ain't got the money in it, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You're gonna dip into whatever you got left over because the law says you have to pay it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's an issue for us too because our, lowest entry level positions I think are below the Washington State minimum wage now.
Mhm.
So I don't know if we're not going to be looking for that kind of work, or if we're going to be looking for something we can justify as a little higher to be able to hire folks, obviously. So I don't know where it's going to stop, but if it keeps
Might have to
adjusting up and up, I mean, it's.
Keep cutting back.
Yeah.
Get all that's done.
I always thought that, it never really had the effect of making people with less seem like they had more because the cost of everything goes up to account for it.
Yeah.
So,
And services go down.
yeah.
Yeah.
Walk into McDonald's right now in Colville. They got a push screen so you can order your own food.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I just looked at the guy and I said, I ain't doing it. He says, come on over here, I'll take care of it. Go into Walmart. They got half whole
Oh, I
loads
know it.
Yeah.
of scan it yourself. I said, no, sir. I said, you didn't reduce the price of it if I scan it myself. So you got a savings here and you're expecting me to pick up the workload. Ain't happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody's got to draw a line in the sand.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one barking up that tree either.
I don't know if you ever heard, but this conversation made me think of that. But we're now we have vendors selling our permits. Were you guys aware of that?
Your fire permits?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So Marcy, support services supervisor, got this going last year. Where it seems like, it's hard for people to get to the Forest Service between 7:30 and 4 to get their permits, and we're closed all the weekends. And the Forest Service has this process where we can use vendors, essentially private businesses, to sell our permits and different things. And so she put together, kind of took the whole program, forest-wide program on, and figured out how to do it and made all the contacts with different vendors. And so now, yeah, people can purchase, firewood permits and other permits as well here in town and other places as well. Here in town, I think Hardee's, I believe, sells permits.
Do you still offer them at the Forest Service?
We still sell them at the Forest Service. We sell, and what you can get more stuff at the Forest Service. Like if we want to come in and buy a map, I think we only have those available there. But firewood permits, now people can get them elsewhere. And then North 40 in Colville and also in Spokane. We used to have kind of a front desk person in Spokane at the BLM who was a Forest Service employee, but we stationed them there. Well, tight budgets and all, we lost the ability to continue to staff that position. And so now we we have a couple of spots in Spokane that sell our permits as well. So it's better, I think, to better customer service and for whatever reason, if the office is closed or it is a weekend or whatever, people can still get what they need, which is nice. So yeah, trying to continually do better. Also, we also have a booth now. We're staffing at the Chewelas Farmers Market over there. Seems to be good interest around that, at least for the time being. So maybe it's something that, if it works well there, we could do those things elsewhere too.
I was going to ask, what about your camping permit or camping fees?
I don't know how those necessarily work. I know there's a process for adjusting the rates.
Well, what I was looking at is you generally have boxes at the campgrounds and put it in. Is there any way a person could buy season permits? It might save the going out and having to open the box and check it out.
I don't think that's necessarily the way Forest Service recreation camping works necessarily. I know, I'm sure might be able to do like some of the special passes and things we have. But, we've got the 14-day stay limit and then...
I don't know that process. I haven't camped before, so I don't know, but I do have a...
Some of our facilities are online reserved and paid for, like the the Swan Lake Kitchen is one, and the Snow Peak Shelter is another one. And they're booked up a long time in advance. So. It works well. I mean, there was some pushback when we first did it because, it was kind of a local attraction that the locals got to take advantage of, more so because all the reservations were dealt with in our office, so you could either walk in the door or you could call us on the phone, but people couldn't just go online and reserve it. And so, it's kind of changed. It's kind of leveled the playing field for everybody that might want to go there, not just folks that live here close.
Might need a couple more.
It would be good.
If they're self-sustaining, and if you can book it,
yeah.
Stuff, I don't see the hurt. Because we went up there last year for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice. Get away, go for
The biggest struggle with that one now is getting firewood to it because it's been there long enough.
They've cleaned up everything around.
Everything that burned in a White Mountain fire
Yeah.
that's within, a long distance, at least a quarter mile.
Shouldn't take too long to stock it if you took a four-wheeler and trailer.
So what we have been doing is flying firewood in there, which is good. It provides firewood, but it's quite expensive.
Yeah. $20 a stick.
We've got lots of wood, we just don't have it in the right place at this point. So.
Right.
I was looking down there at the viewpoint. They cut a whole bunch of wood in there. The hazard trees.
Mm-hmm.
It's been about 4 years, I think. It was closed.
Oh,
While they were doing it.
yeah.
You'd see a pile of wood and then it would disappear. And another pile of wood and it would disappear. And I'm assuming they were transporting it out somewhere.
Yeah.
Or somebody, because you had the gate closed, it'd been a little hard to get in there and load it in your truck.
A lot of it did go into the Snow Peak cabin. I think they all in 8 to 10 cord at a time, not per load, but per event. When we do that, try to get enough in there for a year or more. So
Well, it can go pretty fast.
Eric was talking to me this morning about trail maintenance, and I guess we've got a couple of ways we do trail maintenance.